How are you?
Hello, welcome to
Mel-
Melanin's Garden.
What's the name?
Mel's Garden.
Mel's Garden. Melanine's Garden?
Melanin's Garden.
Melanin. Ain't nothing wrong with a little melanin.
True enough.
All right, so in this video, what are we doing here? What do you want to do?
We're talking about the eighth house and how great it is and how transformative it can be.
Wow. The eighth house. This is a scary house for some people. What do you think?
Yes, it is, but people are afraid of what they don't know and what they don't understand.
So what would you like to
Let's talk about specifically the eighth house, maybe how it changes or how it the death, rebirth, metaphorically, physically, what houses what planets in this house may make, I don't know, just like what planets make in this house with different aspects to like maybe you should be more open to the other side, or maybe you should be more happy about death. I want to, get that out there.
some interesting features? Um, I want to share my interpretation without looking up anything first. And in order to find out a little about a certain particular house, I ask myself, what is the eighth zodiac sign? And I let and allow the zodiac sign to carry me into the interpretation and meaning of said house. So what do you got for Scorpio? What comes to mind when I say Scorpio that could potentially lead you into a comprehension of what the eighth house is?
Well, when I think of Scorpio, I just think of deep, hidden, secretive, detective like, obsessive. And with all these words that I'm saying, play on both the words on a positive and negative note. I think of, and I don't, when I think of Scorpio, like people be like, oh, they're so, social. Maybe they may come off with that aura, but it's not always like that with them. It could be the point where they're super celibate or they're super freaky dicky.
So what's three for Scorpio that right away? Like,
Secretive, deep, and obsessive. That's the three main things I think of right now.
secretive, deep, and
Yes.
obsessive. I'm writing these down. Because not for nothing and for something all in the same time, the words, right? Words are so powerful. Would you
Yes,
say?
very extremely.
And it's interesting when we look at the code of Scorpio, right? When I say look at the code, I'm talking about putting Scorpio in the first place. We put Scorpio in the first place, Sagittarius in the second, Capricorn in the third, right? The third house is the house of words and speech and how someone talks, right? So Capricorn is a powerful sign. It's serious. It's controlling. So Scorpio, in the code of Scorpio, we can find that Scorpio is somewhat of a controlling speech, if you will, right? To the Scorpio code in the speech when we locate Gemini in the astrological chart of Scorpio, right? Scorpio 1, Sagittarius 2, Capricorn 3, right? Gemini's house. We got seriousness, Capricorn. We got Aquarius 4. We got 7th house of Scorpio, And then we have Gemini, the sign of communication in the 8th house, right? Thus, therefore, Scorpios or the Scorpio code of people who were born under the Scorpio season or Scorpio risings have an intense speech because we find the sign of speech, Gemini, in the 8th house.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that? So I said all that to say that the words, and to even look up the words when we're working with any topic, especially if saying and screaming from the top of the Himalaya Mountain, we get so much information when we start uncovering and look at the root of a word. So I have this website that I've been using for so long that I want to share with you. It's called etymonline.com. Are you familiar with etymology?
Yes.
Have you ever heard of that website before?
No. Can you spell it? Or so you say it again?
etymonline.com.
Okay.
I'm not getting paid for this commercial, but it's a source, a tool rather, that can be used to look up the root or to start your journey and your wormholing towards the root meaning of words. And
Yeah, because what I
adds
usually did was just going to Google, and then I would go like searching through there and just kind of slipping.
Yeah. So I want to read this definition of deep to you, and then maybe you can read secretive, and then I can read obsessive, and we can look at the word, right?
Yes.
Or the words, these 3 words, and it brings us into a whole slew of words, if you will, and an understanding of the root of not only the word, but also of the nature and archetype of Scorpio, right? So it says here, deep. We're saying, if you just got here, welcome. We're saying that the word deep is indicative of an archetype and a nature of Scorpio. So Old English, diop, D-E-O-P, having considerable extension downward. So that gives me the idea of into the earth, especially as measured from the top or surface. Also figuratively, profound, awful, mysterious, serious, solemn, from Proto-Germanic diupas, source also of Old Saxon diop, Old Frisian diop, Dutch diep, Old High German tiof, German tief, Old Norse jupre, Danish dib, Swedish jup, Gothic dupes, deep, from pi root, dub, deep, hollow. Old Church Slavonic, duno, bottom, foundation, Welsh, deep, Old Irish, domun, world, via sense development from bottom to foundation to earth. That's under and went from sea level, because we got to go in the ground. And it's interesting that Scorpio is the sign of death, and when people die, they go under. Right, so the word deep is synonymous with death, just in the root meaning of the word. So deep and under. So Scorpios, and the nature of Scorpio has a tendency to go under the surface, not under the sea,
Yeah.
Did you say no? My daughter said under the sea.
No, but seriously, when she said that, I was thinking about the ocean. When she said that, yeah, I
Mm,
was literally thinking about the ocean. Yes. You think about Scorpios go deep as the ocean. You'll never know how deep they are because, it looks like calm waters on top, but that thing go deep,
that
deep.
thing go deeper than a mammy jammy, bear. For real. So do you see that little? You see that little spark? That what happened there? Like with the, my daughter even got the under the sea, and we
Mhm,
got under, which is connected and corresponds to death. And when somebody dies and going under the ground, right, 6 feet deep, right.
mhm.
So these are things that can add into our understanding of Scorpio.
Quick question. I know it's a little bit. What made them make it 6 feet deep? Why isn't it 8 feet deep? Why isn't it 4 feet deep?
Ma'am, excellent question. And I'm going to ask my assistant real quick. Why do they say and utilize the term 6 feet deep associated with death and the burial process? The expression 6 feet deep or 6 feet under is often used to describe burial, particularly when referring to the depth of a grave. The phrase has historical roots through the actual depth of graves has varied over time and depending on location. London, plague 1665. During the plague, the Lord Mayor of London ordered that the graves be at least 6 feet deep to help prevent the spread of disease.
Okay.
Prevention, decomposition, and disease. A deeper burial was believed to slow down composition, limit the spread of odors and potential disease, and reduce the likelihood of animals disturbing the graves. According to Feldman Mortuary, 6 feet was also seen as the depth that would make grave robbing and the disturbance of graves more difficult.
Mm,
The actual depth of graves can vary based on local laws, custom, and cemetery regulations. Modern practices, while the 6 feet deep phrase is widely used, the actual depth of graves may not always be exactly 6 feet, according to Italian cemetery. Many modern graves are shallower than 6 feet, often around 4 feet, to accommodate things like concrete vaults and legal requirements for soil coverage.
mm.
Green burials, which focus blah, blah, blah. So, in summary, the 6 feet deep phrase originates from historical beliefs about disease prevention and the practicalities of burial, but the actual depth of graves can vary depending on location and specific
Okay.
circumstances. According to now, it's interesting though. That's interesting because we can even add in the a little bit of numerology
Mhm,
into 6 feet, the six, right? Because in numerology, six is associated with Venus. And
mhm,
so Venus is the zodiac sign that Venus is the planet, a planet that rules Taurus, which has to do with values. In this script, they talk about the robbing of the tomb. Venus is also the planet that rules Libra, which has the sign of relationships and the
mhm.
relationship between the corpse and other people having a relationship to catch the disease.
I didn't think about that.
And I know that's pretty interesting.
It is because I'm a life path 6, so and my ruling planet is Venus, and it's just like Venus all over the place. Venus just going crazy.
Yeah. So deep, and attached to this full moon that just occurred, you know, it
Mhm,
brings up for everyone, mostly Scorpio sun, moon, and risings, that which is from under, right? It might bring up old things. It might bring things that were dead, right? Either psychologically or metaphorically, and these things come back to the surface.
so how did the full moon hit you?
Um, it hit me from let me see, the full moon was what time? I think it was a 45-degree angle.
Mhm. I thought it was 22.
No, it was 22 degrees, but the
Okay,
angle,
the angle.
yeah, the angle. But yeah, it highlighted my knowledge and awareness um and it resurfaced some old ways of being in regards to some old astrological forms that I was into, studies, research, um, ancestor work, and discovery in that regard.
Mhm.
How about you?
It 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 brought up a lot of I had been like lacking on certain practices that I do and stuff like that. So it's kind of asking me to like step up my practice, the things that I do. Just the same things that that were working before are not working anymore. So it's like, okay, now you got to take it up a notch when it comes to astrology, when it comes to just your spiritual practice, period, your little journey, take it up a notch. That's what I'm feeling.
You want to look up secretive according to the etymology, the etymonline.com. See what it has to say and what we can discover about Scorpio in the eighth house, because these things that we're sharing about Scorpio are also synonymous with the eighth house. So the eighth
Hmm.
house is the place of 6 feet and under, or 6 feet deep. Um, the eighth house has to do with mysterious things,
Hmm.
right?
All right.
Um,
You
yeah, let's
ready?
see. Born that way.
Yeah, ready. All right, secretive as an adjective, inclined to secrecy, tending to keep secret. 1815 implied in secretiveness, which originally was a word in phrenology. See secret. The word also was in the Middle English, secret life with the meaning secret hidden. Let's see, a noun in the late 1400s, that which is hidden from human understanding. That which is hidden from general knowledge, from Latin secretum. Secrecy, a secret, a mystery, a thing hidden, secret conversation, also retirement, solitude, noun for secretus, set apart, withdrawn, hidden, concealed, private. This is a past participle adjective from secretaire, secretaire, to set apart, divide, exclude, without part, properly, on one's own, discriminate, distinguish. The meaning, something studiously hidden or concealed, what is not or not, should not be revealed. In English, the sense of the key or principle by which one difficulty is solved, perhaps via the notion of a method of process hidden from the uninitiated. You want me to keep going?
If you like, if there's anything in there that seems that's new, maybe you
Let's
skim it.
see. Frequently, it's also very.
I read a lot of the old church Slavonic, old Irish and all that. I mean the Danish, it's not the German, it's not. I mean it could be necessary to someone who speaks the different languages. How are you? Welcome in.
Place of
We're talking about the eighth
concealment.
house. I got
Yes.
concealed from that.
Yep.
What'd you get from it?
Yeah, hidden, concealed, secret, like keeping something like in a box, in Pandora's box and never opening it.
Um, I think about that song with Alicia Keys. Your secrets are safe with me, right?
Yeah.
Um, so that's what the eighth house is. Interesting to me that the eighth house is the second house of the seventh house. In layman's terms, saying that the eighth house is the partner's finances.
Hmm.
And so there's a sense of secrecy and hidden and concealment when it comes to what your partner possesses.
Hmm.
And the bond that you share with your partner is there's a secret, a sacredness to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, so that's pretty interesting. Not only is when we say secretive, it's a sect, a section, right? We get the word sect or secret. And when we look at these, some of the words that are given in this etymology um, dictionary, what I like about it is if you look up the words that you find inside of it, you can even get more
Mm-hmm.
understanding and more words, more of a bigger vocabulary surrounding um, the meaning of the words. And it brings you into an understanding, um, a deeper understanding, right? A
Mm-hmm.
secretive, the concealed meaning is discovered when you look at the word and the root of the word and find other words within the root. Like
Mm-hmm.
look at a root of a tree, how it when it a root itself has many splits off of the root, right? Off a strong root, there'll be like little splits,
Mm-hmm.
which are also part of it, part of the whole,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um,
You know what? I have a question though. Like secrete. How does that connect with secret? Like I'm looking at it
well,
because it's underneath there. Sorry.
no, don't be sorry. Um, I want to look that up. How did they spell that? Secret?
Secrete. And
C-E-N-T-E.
then they got the one without the E.
Okay, so secrete. Yeah, that's
It's placed
interesting. So
on
when
it.
I think about a zodiac sign, right? I'm automatically thinking about the anatomy and physiology.
Mhm.
And so whether you realize it or not, Scorpio is the body part and the anatomy and physiology. Scorpio is for both male and females the reproductive organs.
Right. Okay.
And the reproductive organs definitely most indubitably have
Mhm. Yes, they do.
you know that is both in the form of intimacy but also in the form of waste and getting rid of that which no longer serves, right?
Yes.
Like fluid that's secreted, that's no longer used, it's
Mhm.
right. So crete means
Mhm.
of something that is created in a bond. I also think about, what I think about when I think about Scorpio in the eighth house. I think about the movie The Avatar, the blue Avatar movie where he climbed up to the top of that thing, and then he bonded his tail with the tail of the
Mhm.
other, and there was something that happened that can be looked at as like a secret. It was like we don't really know exactly what happened. We could look at it scientifically.
Mhm.
So a secretion looked at as objectively and or
Mhm.
subjectively of something that's produced or created from a bond.
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
if we go into the eighth house even deeper, another part um, um, of the eighth house is also legacies,
Mhm.
right? If you look at the code, you'll see that it goes Libra, Scorpio, and then Sagittarius, right? Libra would be the sign of the partnership, right? The
Mhm.
contractual agreement, and then Scorpio would be the legacy that the two of you share that you would like to create and leave for the children. Then Sagittarius would be the expansion thereof,
Mhm.
you know? Um, yeah, so that is pretty interesting with secretive. All right, so anything else with secretive?
Nope. The last one is open.
And so I
Um,
want to talk
Mhm. Mhm.
Can be deep.
Mhm.
And so the ointment, like when it comes to the secretions, all the things that we're talking about, like Avatar with that bond. There's some things that we're bonded to that people are having issues with separating from.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And um that's pretty interesting. That can be looked at as deep.
Mhm.
It can kind of keep you in like a 6 feet under type of state, even
Yeah.
not necessarily physically dead, but psychologically, where you
Yeah.
feel like you're under this control. Because Scorpio is the eighth sign, so it's connected to the eighth house. And then we can even go into the planetary rulership too of how Mars and Pluto are the rulers of Scorpio.
Mhm.
So we get into a little bit of power, right? Power plays. We got deep, we got power, we got secretive, um, which deals with these things that are secreted or concealed. And no one can, like you said before, you said earlier, you said it could be calm, the waters could be calm on top, but underneath there's a whole watery tornado going on underneath.
Mhm. Sure enough. I don't like with this full moon that just passed. I'm not even gonna lie. Like leading up to the full moon, I was probably in my bed for like 2 days where I didn't want to come out. I had to like force myself up, and I'm like, "You got this." And then, I'm not gonna lie, with a couple other people on the TikTok world that were doing some different breath work and stuff. Are you okay? You breaking up? Hello, hello, hello. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Fix your Boost Mobile. It said, no, we won't fix our Boost Mobile. Yeah, I see you now. Little digitally, little digi. You're not coming in clear, but I see you.
Yeah, little digi, little
Yeah, just
pixelated,
a
a
little
little
bit. You
bit.
know what I'm saying? Cool. There they go. There they go.
There you
There
go.
they go.
All right, I'm gonna read. I want to know what you said though. What did you say?
Oh, I
You said
said,
something about TikTok world. Is what I heard. I heard TikTok world, and then I heard breath work a little bit there.
oh, okay, okay. So I said the full moon leading up to the full moon, I was in my bed for 2 days. I did not want to come out for nothing in the world. And it took for like I was scrolling through TikTok. There's a couple people I follow on there, and one dude was talking to me, was talking about the breath work, but grace and you know what I'm saying? Just giving yourself grace. And I'm not gonna lie, like, you think about like, oh yeah, I know that. But no, you need to get reminded. You need me personally, I'm a visual person. I'm a person that needs reminders. I need it all day. So I needed that. And it kind of, started bringing me out my funk.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So was that a form of obsession?
Um, I think it was more so a form of in my head. Yes, being obsessed in my head because that's the only reason I was in my bed. I wasn't in my bed for any other reason. I was in my bed going back and forth in my head.
Bars?
Bars. It is recorded. Eee.
Obsessed in my head and in my bed.
You should write that down for later.
I'm sure of writing this down. Bars. Obsessed in my head and in my bed. Text message still on red.
No, I like that. Oh, write that down too. Write that down too.
Looked in the mirror, cheeks are rosy red. So
Tomatoes.
I got. Say again.
I said tomatoes.
I got obsessive here from the etimonline.com.
Mm-hmm.
And it says compulsive is the first word that it says. Now I immediately want to look at that a little more in depth from a regular. Compulsive, resulting from or relating to an irresistible urge. That is Scorpio. You know how when you're trying to transform from something, but like I talked about that bond, like where you're
Mm-hmm.
fused with somebody or something. Like, you ever been in a relationship where you just can't escape the grips of it? You know, maybe
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's a brand new cat that was gotten, or a dog. You just can't stop petting the cat. You know what I mean? Or petting the dog. You're just, oh, it's so cute. It's so
Mm-hmm.
irresistible. Right? It could be like that with animals. It could also be like that with people too, right? I can't stand you, but you're so irresistible. Obsessed and in my head and in my bed.
Text message on red.
Text message on red. Um, Irresistible is a feature of Scorpio in the 8th house. I'm actually learning, even though I already know what the 8th house is. It's one thing about astrology is that, and any astrologer that's watching this who's an expert, or even if you're here, let me know. Put in the comments, like, do you find yourself still learning keywords even years after you've been studying? I find that to be a thing. And it's something that I actually enjoy, and it connects the dots. It's like a never ending sea,
Mm-hmm.
right? Irresistibly interesting or exciting. Compelling is another word. Is also the 8th house. So it's a place we can get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
We can get stuck in our irresistible urges. It says here, especially one that is against one's conscious wishes.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So if it's against one's conscious wishes, then it would be connected to that which is unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
So we can automatically connect Scorpio with Pisces and Cancer as well. Those are the 3 water signs that
Mm-hmm.
have to do with this unconscious energy. So us kind of doing this full moon kind of was a signal, a marker for us to be mindful of currents where we just find ourselves in a rut without knowing where it comes from.
Right. Even addiction. Like I've battled with addiction over the years, and I've been clean for about a year now. But those are the things that, you know what I mean? Those are obsessive thoughts. Do I think about it all the time? Of course I do. I'm like, oh, but then, my brain comes in. It's like, nah, do you remember how you were feeling? You were really low. You don't want to get down there. Yeah, it might have been fun for a second, but you know how it ends up.
Yeah. And so it's important for us to be mindful of like what we get attached to and bonded to,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Um, yeah, that's pretty interesting there. So the whole axis of Scorpio and Taurus, um, they're kind of both very similar. Taurus and Scorpio are very similar. Would you
Mm-hmm.
agree?
Yes.
Because they're on opposite poles of one another, and they both actually reflect and mirror each other in that they both have a little bit of each other in them. So
It's the
Scorpios,
same coin. It's the same coin, just two different sides.
same. I like that. I'm writing that down. Same coin, two different sides.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you like? Can you go into that a little bit more? What you mean by that at 11:11?
Yep. Because I can tell you real life. I am a Sun Scorpio and my best friend is a Sun Taurus. And we literally are in the core of each other are the same. We have the same, you know what I'm saying? Like the same type of things that, but with that being said, I'm more introverted with it and she's more extroverted with it. So like we do have the same similarities. We like the same things. I mean, when it comes to the obsession, the secrecy, stuff like that stuff is core. But she's a little bit more out there with it, and I'm a little bit more in with it, if that makes sense. But you elaborate better because you sound so much better.
Um, Thank you for that. Oh, now you got Boost Mobile.
All right.
Is that Boost Mobile or Verizon? Is
First
that?
of all, I had to share this out really quick to someone, and
Oh,
this is T-Mobile. Get it right.
oh, okay, all right. T-Mobile. We don't get paid for this commercial. T-Mobile, sponsor us. Let's get it. Um, yeah, the same coin with two different sides. I would that toward full moon, we get an opportunity to see that,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's interesting how the time of year in the northern latitudes, how the freshness of the vegetation on the planet, like the leaves, the trees, like it looks so full for those in the northern latitudes to be able to see that um, in the spring. For the southern latitudes, everything's dying, so you get like the opposite ends. It's
Mm-hmm.
fall, right? Um, but with that mirror, with that same coin with two different sides, it's interesting to see how Taurus is about life and new life. Scorpio is about death, but Scorpio is also about life, and Taurus is about death. When the sun is in Scorpio, Taurus is dead, right? So what's alive is the transformative processes. So it's interesting because the moon is considered the subconscious. So the full moon in Scorpio, which by the way, by astrological law, the moon doesn't really like to be in Scorpio. So if you're out there and you have the moon in Scorpio, know that you're automatically a little bit more subject from an astrological perspective to be caught in this binding, energetic. Like you being a Scorpio, you can easily get caught in a binding, get into that irresistible thirst.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? For a thing and like really want it. And you got to like tell yourself, hey, hang on, let's check in. Let's check in. How are you feeling? Are you breathing? Do you need that? Or do you
Mm-hmm.
want it? You know? Um,
Yeah, a
so
lot of
that's a
that.
pretty that's an interesting feature. So it brings a need for a sense of control as well. Um,
Mhm.
that and you can see it in many different levels. Um, but I want to pause there for a moment
Mhm.
with those keywords. That was awesome. That was 40 minutes of looking at three words: Scorpio in the eighth house. Maybe we can practice. I would like to do some reading or a reading now because I said an
Mhm.
hour. Maybe we can pick somebody um, from the crowd um, and do an example of how the eighth house and this full moon in Scorpio could um, be interpreted in a chart. And moving forward, I want to do more of this type of work with talking about a topic and reading an astrological chart and maybe reading multiple astrological charts here on YouTube.
Mhm.
And I'd love to have you there to um, to give your side of the coin,
Mm-hmm.
right? To share. How does that sound to you?
That sounds great.
Let's do it. So is there anybody in here that wants to share their rising sign? Because we need the rising sign in order to interpret. Then we can locate your 8th house. And
Come on, somebody.
if you're watching this video after the recording, know that we're always live. I am always live doing live astrology, and you could put your information in the comments, your rising sign in the comments. Not too much. Just a touch of zodiac. A little bit. And we'll get to your comment. It probably would be a good idea to do a little topic and then go over the 12 zodiac signs. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
open it up for something. I get better. We'll get better each and every time.
You're the best. What are you talking about? You're already the best. I'm trying to be like you when I grow up.
Well, I'm not. I appreciate that, but I'm not the best. It's impossible. There's always someone better than me. My theory is there's always
But you're
someone.
better than me. So shit. Shoot.
Eh, I'm better at you than some things, and you're better at that than at some things than I am.
Yeah. And this is your forte. And take your flag, and you're the winner.
And you're the winner too.
Yeah.
It's a win-win situation. I would like the signal to be a little bit more clear next time, though, for sure.
Yeah. Make sure you get your network extender. Tell Boost Mobile you need the upped one.
Did me. All right. I don't know if there's a delay or whatnot, but I want to pause it here. Thank you for hanging out, and let's do a quick chat once I close this out.
All right. Sounds good.
And we'll see you in the next video, y'all. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, share. Ba-da-bop.